Have you ever thought if I was only thinner, I'd be so much more successful? Or if I was thinner, I'd be a better mother? Or if I was thinner, I could finally start doing, then this episode is for you. I have an incredible guest today who's helping bringing women together as a community to end the waiting game. You're going to hear about your size changing and not taking away from the person you are. And you're going to hear some incredible tips that you can put into action straight away to help you feel better about yourself. I interviewed Sharon a couple of days ago. I found myself walking to the shop, and only listening to her increased my self-worth. So it's an extremely enjoyable episode. If you're new here, my name is Annette. I'm the creator of Effortless Parenting, and I'm a parent and classroom educator with positive discipline. And I believe that you deserve to live in a calmer home. So, Sharon, you're the style coach, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself a bit more in a moment. You've made such a big influence and had an impact in my life. I can't even express in words. I'm going to attempt it a little bit. And we met about 2 years ago when you won the award at Business in Women in Business.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Uh,
Emerging. I was emerging. It was my
Emerging.
third year. It was like
That's
I was
right.
emerging. I've emerged.
That's it. And then shortly after this, I believe you launched your first Get in the Picture campaign, and
Yes,
you were so kind and generous to give me a space in that first article that appeared in the Evening Echo. I'm going to link it below. And
yes.
yeah, I shared a lot about my journey and my eating disorder
Yeah.
and how much that meant. And I resonated so deeply with your campaign that we'll speak a little bit about today, because I was that mom that ran away when the photographer came, And I'm just to explain where this is all coming from and how this came about. Was a mom of 2 young children at the time, went to my cousin's wedding in Germany,
Mhm.
and there was this beautiful swing set up, by the photographer, and he offered every family to take a family portrait. And I couldn't bear the look of myself in photos. For some reason, I told myself I looked like an old granny.
Mhm.
And now, 10 years later, and having embarked on this journey, of self-love and acceptance and discovery, I started having regrets. And that's when you came into my life, about not running away. So with that, I would
Oh, that's so yeah. That's and then when you shared your story so openly and so vulnerably, and I do think that the more we share. No, I'm not saying you don't need to share your scars. Or to share your scars, not your wounds. Because I think I would be a very private person,
Mhm.
but yet I share kind of if it's relevant. Usually I don't share my family,
Yeah.
I don't share any of that, but I do share my journey because I think it's relevant and it can help people and they can see, how, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. And
Hmm.
the more we share, the more honestly, the more we and everybody you think they've got their shit together over there or they're on top of it over here. And actually, the more we share it, the more we realize that we don't, and it's okay. And it's actually okay. It's more than okay. Um, and sometimes you be focusing on one thing and something else kind of slips. I
Hmm.
always say, that question, can we have it all? I'd like to think we can. I wouldn't like to put limits on ourselves, but I personally haven't managed to have it all together at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that, like if you've got a sick parent or a sick child or you're focusing on something, something else probably gives too. So it's okay, and to give ourselves that grace and to give ourselves that it's okay. And I think the more, and I suppose that's the one thing that I find about, like I don't have any traumatic story. There's no trauma. There's no, but it's just the more we share it, the more we realize that it's actually I can see myself. It's actually okay, and it gives other people permission as well, not to be perfect and not to pretend that we have it all together. Um, so yeah, so again, you're sharing your story, which was so beautiful, and there was 4 other women shared their story, all different, but all so similar.
Absolutely. So just for the audience, maybe the mother or the father who's watching this, you could you share maybe a little bit about yourself, where you're based, and
Yeah,
how
yeah.
just
So
a couple
I,
of sentences how this came about? And then you are a mother, as I know.
yes,
So
I
if you
am.
want to share as little as you would, to protect your
Yeah,
children.
no, no, no. So I suppose I am a style coach. I suppose is regionally how it started. I won't go back to
Mhm,
photo when I worked in the financial services sector, but I did then take time off work. And then I took time off the corporate work
mhm.
to stay at home with three children under 3.5. And that was busy. It was a lot. And I'd kind of lost a little bit of who I was because I was Sharon that worked in the man, and I went in, I got the bus, I was able to have my coffee, or I was able to go to the shops at lunchtime, and I was able to do all that. And even what I wore, because you must have a white shirt in your wardrobe. I was kind of going, a white shirt is no good to me with the sticky hands and the snot and the and the all the rest of it that goes with it. That was absolutely redundant to me. But I
Yes.
still, at the same time, I did kind of want to feel a little bit like me.
Mhm,
Um, and I was sitting down and I saw an article. I still to this day don't know how I actually got time to read a magazine, but I did, and it
mhm.
was Ireland's Next Stop Stylist. And what I did was I entered it. But what I did was I actually had one piece and I styled it 6 different ways.
Okay.
So I was always very practical and kind of, as I said, that we evolve and change. So why doesn't our wardrobe? Do you know what I mean? And our needs. And I know
Oh.
since COVID, they certainly evolved and changed.
Mhm.
Um, so I won that, and I got to style, got to do a styling program and work with some of Ireland's top stylists.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
in that, I was kind of okay. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to help women and feel empower them, feel good about themselves. But actually, I didn't feel. I felt like a huge imposter. Who was I? I hadn't even worked in a shop in retail. Who was I to be thinking with three small children that I was a stylist? They were glamorous. They were on the television. They had a point of difference, and that's one thing that was kind of said to me that I needed a unique selling point or a point of difference, and that completely threw me. And I was kind of going, I'm too ordinary. So who am I to be a stylist?
Mhm.
And I went into hiding. I'd set up a company, a business called Style for You. Absolutely not anybody that knows a business is not, I mean, a year is not long enough to give a business at all. But I was just so overcome by this kind of fear of imposter syndrome that I was then offered to play a kind of a role in Dress Boutique in Cork to
Okay.
be their fashion stylist and buyer. And I ran in there. And to be honest, I hid in there, but at the same time, now looking back on it, it afforded me a huge opportunity to speak to women, to dress women of every shape, every size, to hear. I wouldn't have had that exposure to those women if I hadn't. But I hid in there. There's no two ways about that. Um, and it was actually in the changing room there that I realized that I could help women, and I was all about educating them and kind of,
Mhm.
okay, this is what, this is why this suits you. You know what I mean? So that
Yes,
they'd go away with something that they'd be able to
that's very
replicate
cool.
it themselves. Because otherwise, I kind of felt it was like putting a plaster on a broken leg if they weren't able to. And I could see that, okay, they could look good for the christening, the communion, the confirmation, whatever it was, but nothing had changed. So
Mhm.
that's when I went back and I said, okay, if the insides and the outsides aren't aligned, and you don't feel good, and you don't feel confident, you don't feel worthy, and you don't feel you deserve, nothing had changed. Usually nothing had changed. So
Right.
that's what I did. I did life um, coaching.
Mhm.
And then since I have done NLP and QTT, QTT is quantum thinking transformation.
Okay.
So for me, that kind of gets under the bonnet of the story.
Mhm.
So if somebody comes to me and they want to know what body shape they are, I can tell them that. You can probably Google it, to be
Yes.
honest.
Yeah.
But I want to know why. What difference is it going to make to you? And I know for me, I'll be very honest, one of the reasons that I did get into style and fashion was because I measured my self-worth on the weighing scales for decades. And I was like, if I know what suits me, and if I know what flatters my body,
Yeah.
and if I know all the rules and the inside secrets, then I'll be able to look slimmer. And that,
Mm.
yes, I do agree with dressing for your body shape,
Mm.
but not at the cost of everything. You mean not at the cost of going, oh, does this of joy, of kind of going, oh my God, I love this. So my tagline is style, it's a feeling. So it's how does it make you feel? Because we all know if you feel amazing, you go
Mhm.
into a room, you own it. You command.
Yes.
There's something so magnetic about that. So now I will wear a fluffy, puffy, dress that doesn't maybe accentuate my waist as much. That's my ever decreasing waist in perimenopause, but it's still there, a little bit. But it's so I do know what suits me. So I do understand that women would like to know the fundamentals, but it's kind of, I liken it to now that it's kind of like teaching someone to dance. I
Mhm.
teach them the steps, but then
Yes.
they add their own flair.
Oh, I love it.
So so really for me that was very important, that the style was one element, but it was, if you were saying mean things to yourself and you were saying, oh my God, I'm a fat this, or look at the size
Mhm.
of my thighs and that, there was no point. You mean it wasn't, it was surface level. So as I say, going back to that analogy, it was like putting plaster on a broken leg. So I was actually made redundant as it happened. And
Oh,
I said, okay, I'm going to give this another go, but this time I'm coming back as me.
whoa.
And I'm good enough, my ordinariness or whatever. And I don't believe if we want to feel we're extraordinary. And I
Mhm.
don't think there's anything wrong with saying people are ordinary too. I think there's this expectation that we all have to be extraordinary. I mean, we're all extraordinary being ordinary as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was coming back as myself.
Mm.
So that's when I set up. And that's one of the things actually I do get, that, oh, Sharon, I feel, you are very relatable.
Mhm.
And that's, there's somebody for everybody as well. And I do think that in every line of business, there's somebody will kind of go, oh, I don't like her style, or she's not stylish enough for me. And before that would have been like, oh my God, I need to up my. Whereas now it's kind of, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
fine. There's, somebody, Mary will,
Mhm.
I'll be Mary's person, or I'll be. But we're not for everybody, and I think that kind of comes with age as well. I think it's kind of liberating, to be honest.
Absolutely. I love that. And you're a mother of how many
I am.
children?
I'm a mother of like two young adults and a teenager that's just hanging in there. So my son
Okay.
is going to be 21
Well,
in September, and then I have my middle child, my youngest son. He is 19, and then
okay.
my daughter is 17. And it was actually interesting because I was getting all nostalgic kind of first of all, going, how could I have a 21-year-old? It's not
Mm.
possible. The maths don't add
Yeah.
up. But I was going back over his baby album recently, and again, first child, like my poor daughter, my COVID project was meant to be to get all her photographs. Now I have thousands of them. I do have
Yeah.
them. She was the most photographed. I used to literally change her dress and change her outfit. She was like a little, so I have millions of photographs, but none of them were printed. But it
Mhm.
didn't actually happen during COVID. So anyway, I must do that for her. But I was looking back, and there was like, him with his dad, him with his granddad, him with, the first time the snow with his dad, the first time with his aunt, he's all of this, the first year. And there was a few of me. I think there was probably maybe three out of the hundreds.
Mhm.
But it was like, yeah, what's missing from this is actually me. And I
Mhm.
was so present. Do you know what I mean? I was so present and so
Yeah.
there, but not visible. So I
Yeah.
had erased my history. Um, and so that's kind of something that really has come up for me, and that comes up for an awful lot. Like, even I was
Mhm.
speaking to my sister recently, and she was saying that her eldest son, I think he's 10 now, and she was saying that she got a professional photographer to do
Mhm.
a baby shoot
Yes.
with him and his dad for Father's Day. And the photographer said, "Oh, you come into it now." She's like, "No, no, no, no. I will. It's for them."
Wow.
And the photographer made her go into them, and she said, actually, she said, I do have my section, I do have my huge bit, she separated, I can't remember what the technical term is because I didn't have that, but she'd
Wow.
separated muscles, and, her
Yeah.
tummy is bigger, usually, or was bigger, certainly. She was certainly only after having her baby in a section. And she said, like, my God, like, when she looks at those pictures now, okay, she can see her section, she can see she was tired, she can see all this. But she
Mhm.
said, I have them. Imagine if I didn't have those. Imagine if I wasn't there. And that's what I suppose, I get goosebumps. And I
Mhm.
think we're erasing ourselves and we're erasing our history. And like, when you look back at photographs of a loved one, you don't care whether they're laughing with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
Even it's actually even
Yeah.
more beautiful if they are.
Yeah.
You don't care if you're like, if they have a double chin. You don't
Mhm.
care if, if you're kind of going, oh, wouldn't they be a better friend now if they were 2 stone lighter, or they'd be a better mother if they were 2 stone lighter, or
Yeah.
whatever. You don't you don't look at that. You just,
No.
so yeah, it's just really, really, really powerful. And I suppose I have a daughter, so
Mhm.
I alluded to the fact that I measured my self-worth on the scales for
Mhm.
decades. And it was a good day if I was a pound down, or it was bad day, I was a bad mother, a bad person if I wasn't. And I was somehow better and more valuable if I was smaller. No, I didn't have an eating disorder, but I definitely had disordered thinking around a huge link of self-perception with being smaller.
Yeah.
Um, Look, and a lot of that was conditioning, is what we were, ingesting, what ads were there. The pinch more than you can, the pinch more than an inch special K ads, which were vile marketing, because you were told that the solution to that problem was to have two bowls of special K, which was genius marketing, but
Yeah.
very detrimental to women. And
Hmm.
yeah, so somehow this value that I was better. And then when I got there, I didn't actually feel better, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I hadn't done the inside work.
Yeah.
So that's what I say to people now. It's kind of like I feel like I was on a dual track. Do you know what I mean? It was like a dual train track. It was kind of like I was slimmer, but I hadn't done the work. So when I got there, there was always something to be kind of disappointed about, or that I still wasn't worthy, or now had to go work on something else.
Yeah.
So now I kind of say, when you do the work first, and it's not that I'm not anti-weight loss
Mm.
at all, if you want to lose weight, but I really, I suppose, it's the reasons behind it.
Absolutely.
The reasons behind it. Whereas now, if I do want to lose weight, it'll be around vitality, about health, about not hating myself
Mm.
slimmer, not hating myself, or not thinking that I'd be a better person, or I'd be, it'll all fall into place, and it'll be all sunshine and roses. And
Yeah.
if I was a certain size, or if I was, and it wasn't even a size, because when I got there, it was never, yeah, I'd say there was no alignment. Whereas now, I think when you have that acceptance, and you have that, um, at the start, then when you get there, there's kind of there's a, what I mean, you lose the weight, but it's not just the weight. You've actually done the work on the inside, and it's aligned. Because some of my clients never lose weight, and they
Mm.
just feel better about themselves. So I say, I'm not anti-weight loss. Some people want to lose weight, but it's just, again, like your reasons why, is what
Yeah.
I kind of would say.
The intention behind it,
The
right?
intention behind it, yeah. And for me as well, I just didn't want my daughter to waste a minute of her time hating herself, thinking that she was more valuable if she was
Yeah.
smaller, that her talents, whatever, amazing. Like, yeah, just, I don't look at her, and I don't want anybody else looking at her as, like, yes, we're a body, but it's like part of us. It's not the totality of us. It's not the whole of us. It's not. Um, so that's really, I suppose, my driving force behind the kind of Getting the Picture campaign was, yes, it's a part of us, but God, don't let that override the amazing things that you achieve, and the amazing. And I'm talking about amazing as in, it could be just,
Yeah.
getting out of bed every morning. It could be that you could take over the world. You know what I mean? But it's like just the amazing mother, daughter, employee, businesswoman, whatever. All of those things. They're like, I kind of. It's kind of like a pizza segment. My body was like, six, or five out of six slices, whereas now it's a slice. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I don't, because people say to me, like, Sharon, do when you look in the mirror, do you not see? I see that I'm bigger now. That I see my waist is less defined. I see that my middle is,
Yeah.
more spread. I see that my thighs are bigger. It's not that I don't see it. It's what I am willing to allow it me, and the airtime that I'm willing to give it. So it's not like Pollyanna. It's not that I'm kind of brushing over it and I don't see it. I do, but it's a segment. So when you have it as a segment, it's not, I'd say, the 90% of my life or my thoughts anymore. And it's such a waste of thoughts and
Yeah.
waste of energy.
Yeah,
That
it's
we could,
such a slavery, isn't it, Sharon? Like what I love so much about your campaign and the work you do is that, my parenting approach, it's all about more what we do and how we feel, how that's maybe the 80%
yeah,
as opposed to what we do or what we say,
yeah,
So let's
yeah,
say and with teenage daughters, that if they are on social media or whatever, that if we say, don't be impressed by those images,
yeah, yeah.
that means nothing if we don't live it. So
If we don't do it. And
yeah,
that's really important, actually, because Getting the Picture campaign, I have it here, actually.
yes,
From the
please
first
show
year,
us.
these are all the images of the
Okay.
ladies and
Yeah.
some of them you can't see, but some of them here, if I can find even more, some of them are here with their daughters and their
Okay.
sons.
Yeah.
That one here, she's with her daughter. There's another couple of here with their sons and daughters. And that's really important because it's monkey see, monkey do. And
Yeah.
if you're telling your daughter and your sons, but
Mm.
I do think there's a lot of kind of generational, kind of bias and that kind of thing towards weight and women being smaller and being more valuable if they are
Mm.
smaller. But
Mhm.
like you're telling them you can be anything you want, you can do anything you
Mm.
want, but just don't look at me for your don't look at me to kind of, because I'm telling you to do it, but I'm not actually embodying it and doing it myself. Um, and so that's what a lot of people would say. I'm literally I'm doing it for my daughter. I'm doing it because if I'm not getting into the picture, and getting into the picture is getting into the picture physically on the 19th of August as the day
Yes.
of the campaign, but it's
Uh-huh.
actually getting into the picture of your life. You know what I mean, metaphorically as well. Um, but it's about them seeing you getting into the picture, and that gives, and the more we do that, the more it gives permission to them to show up
Yeah.
as they are. And that's what I loved about the Olympics this year as well. And there's no right body. There's no like,
Uh-huh.
if you have a bigger body, it's not better than a smaller body. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not the other way around. It's like every body is
Mm.
worthy and deserving. So it's not to there is this kind of body positivity movement and that kind of thing as well at the moment, and that can be toxic too in itself. So it's very much everybody. There's no like, oh, you're size 10, you're size 8, you're size 6, you're not,
Yeah. Now you
everybody. So
need
it's
to be
kind of,
shamed, right? It can't. That's what I'm all about. The pendulum
completely, because I
swinging
would
the
have
other
clients
way.
that
Yeah.
are, they don't feel womanly enough, or they
Yeah.
don't feel, everybody has their
Yeah.
own hang-ups or their own issues, whatever. So it's not about weight, but I just love, it's the representation, I think, which is important. And I
Mhm.
love that in the Olympics this year, that there was, and again, that myth about, yes, I'm not saying that, I don't link it to obesity. I don't get into that whole kind of side of it. Um, it's about what you are now and how you feel. Yes, there's probably reasons why people might need to lose weight and all the rest of it. And again, that's not something that I kind of go into. But it's just, that it's taking that you can be fit, you can be healthy, you can be happy at any size. And that's really important, that we're not pitting each other now against other people, other women,
Yeah.
um, because that they aren't this, kind of, I think what the average age is size 14 or something now, or even 16 probably. It's moving up in scale. So again, women that are smaller in size, maybe 6, feel discommoded and displaced as well. So it's just everybody is worthy and deserving. And I always kind of say, stay in your own lane,
Yeah.
stay in your own lane, and celebrate everybody, and celebrate every shape and size. And it's just like, if you, on a cellular level, it's just literally cells. You know what I mean? It's just but it's what we see first, and we're so conditioned to. But like, we all know people that maybe mightn't be fit into the perfect mold,
Yeah.
and they're just so magnetic. Like, it's just, they own themselves. They're so confident. They're not they're dressing maybe with with confidence. It's just so magnetic. And the more we can strip it back, and the more we can all kind of have that, and it is confidence. And I know it's going to go, it's not that brave, but there is a brave, an element of brave and vulnerability in being yourself, because when you're open to criticism, and
Mhm.
if you criticize your true self, that's you're open, you're leaving yourself open to that. But honestly, I do think the more we strip it back, the more we give ourselves and other people permission to do it. And I just think it's I think, and our daughters and the generations to come. So
Yeah.
I really, and even sons, I have sons too, and it's just for them to see it, that
Yeah.
mom and sister, things change and size changes, but that doesn't take away from the person that you are. um it really is powerful. And like, even my niece, I was talking to her recently, and she was saying she was getting married, and she was like, her mom didn't get into the picture that morning. She said it actually made her sad.
Mm.
She said it actually made me sad that she wouldn't get into the picture, and it was kind of the whole, come on, come on, come on, get it. And
Mm.
she said, like, she's my mom. I don't see her as
Yeah.
that she should be this or she should be that, and she should be. So there is that, and even husbands would say, God, I'm always at my wife to get into the picture.
Mhm.
So just, get your husband, get your daughter, get, whatever,
Mhm.
to take pictures. take pictures of you, you know what I mean? Because we're always behind the camera.
Right.
So it's, as I say, it's time to get into the picture physically and metaphorically.
And whose judgment are we fearing, right? It's, you know,
Absolutely. And I honestly, I do think that, like, for me, nobody will ever be as mean to me as I was to myself.
exactly.
Never. There's nobody that would ever, even a troll in the dark web or whatever. I've never had those. But I'm just
Yeah,
saying, if even they'd never, and it's only if you, being honest, it's only if it's a reflection of what you feel about yourself that'll hit home. But I know for a fact that nobody could have been as mean to me as I was to myself. So it was my criticism and my meanness to me that so sometimes the thing we fear the most is actually not even a reality, because
yeah,
you know and people in general don't come at you. I think we're projecting what they might say, but it's actually what we're thinking.
absolutely. Absolutely. I always say, I read this thing before the summer, that the treasures in the cave that you're most afraid to walk into, and that's where I read a few articles, in preparation for this about one of your quotes was, when you accept yourself, you're coming from a mindset of compassion and freedom. And that's where the freedom is, isn't it?
That's yeah.
To look at
Again, so
what,
it's not even body positivity, or it's not even about, I love every bit of, because that might take a long time, and you might actually never get to loving every square inch of your body. Great if you do, and
yeah,
maybe, but it's about that freedom of just get the airtime that you're not willing to not go for the promotion, you're not willing to not go for the girls' night out, you're not willing to not, it's about what you're. Yes, I am. We have that. The fact is, I am 2 sizes bigger, or whatever your fact is. The fact is, I have put on 2 stone. The fact that is, I am bigger than I was when I was, or whatever. The fact is the fact. But it's
mm-hmm.
what you're allowing it and the airtime you're going to give it. And that's for me is the freedom. That's the freedom for me, is not allowing that stop me from doing the things that I want to do. And as I say, it's not Anning. It's not like unicorning it.
That's it.
It's this. I think it's acceptance.
Yeah.
I think it's that acceptance that, yeah, this is my. But what does it mean? What am I going to make it mean? And it's the meaning that you put on it. Because I can guarantee you, it's like when you look at a photograph. So you're out with the girls, you're out at a family reunion, everybody zooms into themselves.
Mm.
And if you said, "Oh God, my double chin or my side profile," they'd be saying, "What are you talking about?" They don't see it.
Others
Whereas
don't.
you don't see it for them.
For them. That's right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the way I've been observing your work on social media is that your tools and what you offer women and probably men as well is something where you say the fact is the fact. There is I'm a coach for Byron Katie's
Yes.
work. So
Yeah, I
it's
love her work.
about there's there's reality, there are the facts, and then there's the judgments, that are not aligned at all. So you help women with those judgments probably of themselves and then show them the incredible life they could lead if
And
they
for me, like,
have
when I say the fact is the fact, sometimes the fact isn't the fact. The fact is you
okay.
think you believe it to be the
Yes.
fact. And
Yeah.
that's a lot of what the work that I do is actually around those beliefs.
Yes.
Um, because I had a belief that, that if I'd be more successful if I was smaller, I'd be a better mother if I was smaller, and that I wasn't enough, I didn't know enough, I didn't, all of these beliefs. And I believed them to be true. So if anybody questioned me, I did actually believe that they were true. But
Yep.
when you get under the bonnet of it, they weren't true, or they might have been true in certain areas. But it just loosens up your whole. And like with the QTT, there's it's talk-based therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and you go back. It's not that you say if you're anger, frustration, you these emotional, like you feel it in your body stores it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's about letting those go. So you're not letting the memory go. It's not like voodoo. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
right, but you're letting go of the feeling attached to those. So, for example, I had a huge fear around public speaking, going back to my childhood and kind of things that had happened to me in school. And I would, like, it would be like a siren going off just under my breastbone here, but like literally going. Meh, meh, meh. If I even had to go around a table and say my name is, I'm from Cork, whatever it was. Um, And I absolutely hated it, but I had a physical response to it. It was kind of like a siren going off, going, you don't like this. But it was actually trying to keep me safe. It was my subconscious going, remember in school when you had to stand up in front of class and you had to read your sentence backwards. You know, we won't go into that whole why, you know, that the shame around that. But
Yeah.
um so but it stopped me from going for promotions, doing presentations, putting myself out there. So the where the kind of thing comes so that here I am wanting to set up a business, wanting to empower women, wanting to have a huge impact, wanting to build a community, wanting to, so it's all up here. But if I can't even go on and do a live or say, you know, prayer of the faithful, a mass, or even say my name is, that's where there's the gap. So that's when, you know, I kind of liken it to you're driving with your one foot on the brake and one foot on the accelerator. So
Mm.
it's about, that's the first, I suppose, area that I worked on. And now sometimes absolutely do I feel a bit nervous if I have to, you know, stand up in front of 500 people and speak? Yes, but that's natural nerve. It's not this
Yeah.
kind of, well, you're going to die, you know, the world is going to fall down and you're going to, so it's yeah, it just gives you that freedom to go after the things that you want to go after without that your subconscious trying to keep you safe, because that's the ultimate goal of your subconscious, is to try and keep you
Yeah.
safe. But it was overzealous in those aspects. It wasn't kind of, you know, I wasn't going to die if I thought I was going to, but I wasn't going to die if I, you know, spoke and said my name. So those kind of things. But it works for everything. It works for, you know, but everything is related to, you know, the thing that you have now showing up is
Mhm.
is related to maybe something else as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's
Great.
kind of,
All
but it's
connected.
what it's stopping you from doing, I suppose, is where I really, really help people, and, you know, helping them move beyond that.
And as a result, their surroundings observe it and everything changes. Do you find that as well?
Everything, it
Yeah.
impacts everything. So even
Yeah.
like, even when I was only focusing on style and only, like, that's not doing anyone a disservice. That is focusing on style, and I absolutely do feel that, you know, when you put something on and you feel good,
Mhm.
you know, you kind of, it's, you know, it is very empowering. But you know, it's everything that will have a ripple impact.
Mhm.
Like even things like with clients, it's like, so they feel good, they start drinking their, you know, 7 glasses of water. The next
Mhm.
thing they're going for their walks. The next thing
Mhm.
they're going for, you know, they're more present at home with their children. They've done, so everything impacts
Mhm.
everything, and everything has a ripple impact. So yeah, it's like, you know, the stone you throw into the water, it kind of impacts
Yeah.
everything. So it's like the chicken or egg. Do you
Mhm.
start with the style? Do you start with the mindset? Do you start with
Mhm.
the body confidence? Just start.
I agree.
Because
And it will
sometimes we're
show
kind
up
of
what
going,
needs to be worked through, right?
completely, we're
Yeah.
waiting for the perfect thing, or
Yeah.
if I start in this, then this will just
Mhm.
start. It's like, you know, even if you want to feel healthier, you'll drink more. I'm saying more water, because I need to hear myself say that, because I actually don't drink
Yeah.
enough water at home. But it's like, it's all of these little small habits, but
Mhm.
it's just start, just do something. Because I, you know, I think sometimes we can be waiting for the perfect thing that will then give us the results that we want. But
Yeah.
it's just start now, and then you'll feel good, the shoulders go back. You know, even one little thing that my clients, one of the things I share in the QTC technique, it's called chin up. And it's just literally, she said it revolutionized. She used to walk half an hour to work and half an hour back.
Mhm.
And before, she used to just kind of walk with her gaze downwards, didn't think
Yeah.
anything of it. And she said chin up has revolutionized. She said her chin is up. She's seeing things that she's never seen, but it actually, even just, it opens your physiology. If
Mhm.
you think, if you're sad, or if you're glum, or if something happened, you nearly go into fetal position. So you're kind of like, you know, oh, the world is on top of me. I'm no good at this. I'm not good at that, and this is, you know, whatever. Whereas when you opened and you literally just raised your chin and chin up, like, it's not like that, but just
Yeah.
chin up.
Yeah.
She said it opened her physiology, and it was actually so powerful. She said she saw things that she never saw before. She said and people were saying, "Oh my God, I'd have some of what you're having." People were stopping her, kind of going, "She said it was revolution." So it doesn't have to be big, massive things.
Right.
That chin up revolutionized, of all the things that I've done quantum releases with her. I've done all the things, and they've had a great impact.
Yeah.
But the chin up has had the most impact with her. So it's just, yeah, chin up. So even if you're desk, or if you're walking, or you're doing
Mhm.
anything, and you find yourself getting a bit into the, oh, you know,
Mhm.
poor me, or this always happens to me, or why doesn't this, or whatever it is, or you're speaking negatively to yourself, even just shoulders back and chin up, and just
Yeah.
it just changes your physiology. And so that's just, so it doesn't have to be overly complicated either, but it can have a profound effect.
Absolutely. And then I love what I just came across another article that you wrote just very recently about AI, and it even
Oh my,
gave me
yeah.
an idea about myself to, about what were you saying? We have no idea what is real and what isn't. And I haven't got
Hmm.
near AI yet for that reason, until there's proper regulation. And I heard yesterday that it's great for if you may be stuck with ideas for your business,
Yeah,
to put it in. Um, but I think what you were saying, and we're going to talk about beauty and our self-worth in a moment. But it should be really stated, very transparent, this was generated by AI or this
AI,
wasn't. And I might
yeah,
even, you gave me an idea to add this to my own posts, to just say, I don't know, created by a real human being or
yeah,
something,
absolutely,
And
yeah.
and something that came up when I read this about that we are erasing ourselves, where you
Mhm.
come in as this visionary, Sharon, and you're kind of saying, if we don't get in the picture, we are the most powerful element, because the diverse beauty you're saying in that article, I'm going to
Mhm.
link it below, it's going to be erased. We're just going to see the standard beauty. So we can do so much as mothers and women to
Yeah,
keep and I know selfies are hard. I don't enjoy them particularly.
yeah, yeah.
But maybe somebody can help you and take a picture of you, So whatever
Yeah,
comes up to
that
you.
AI statistic frightened me. I think it was by next, it's only 2025, which is like sounds very far away, but it's
Yeah.
actually next year that 90% of all images will be AI. And I am not adverse to AI. I love ChatGPT, love it.
Mhm.
Just good. It's like everything. There's good and there's negative
That's
aspects of
it.
everything.
Yeah.
Just for me, I suppose, as a mother, and for me as a woman, like I did a picture of me, like it, with one click of, now I know it looks a bit fake, but at the same time, you get the gist of it. I could have probably, if I knew what I was doing, I probably could have done one that would looked a little bit
Yeah.
more real. But you can see that it's literally airbrushing everything. We'll all end up looking the same, and we won't. That's the point. We won't know what's real. We're already, girls and women are comparing themselves to things like, even when you look at the supermodels aren't even good enough not to be airbrushed. Their perfection isn't even perfect enough. You know what I mean? So like they're brushed and honed and made even more perfect than they are. I mean, how warped is that?
Yeah.
That this level of perfection that we're all meant to aspire to isn't even perfect enough. So it's it's just that we won't know. And I was on 96 of them, and I was saying that I'd love that kind of, and I do think I see it on my Facebook or whatever. It says there's a little toggle for, is this AI generated? But I'd love to see it like, I know Dove have committed to not using any AI generated images, and
Mhm.
I'd love to kind of more companies to come out and not, especially ones that are you know targeting and marketing women and
Yeah.
children. Um, I would love them to come out, and I think it is a revolution, and I think there's a lot of work to be done. But I do think that there's an appetite for it now. Like I want to see wrinkles. I want to see, and when I say real women, I'm talking about women that identify as women and women that are not AI generated, rather
Mhm.
than that anyone that has had tweaks. Everyone to their own. I'm not, I haven't had any work done. But if you do and you feel, what I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not here to be judging anybody. I always say you do you.
Yeah.
But again, like that, going back to, if they were my client, I would just love to know what's driving, what's the intention, what is it behind it.
Yeah.
That's just me personally with
Abs-
my QTT. That's where I would be kind of going with it, rather than judging people, because I say we all stay in our own lane and we've enough to be worrying about here without worrying about what's going on everywhere else. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that really frightened me about the AI generated, that we won't know what's real and what's not. And as I say, just erasing all
Mm.
the character, erasing the, just, yeah, women really. I
Yeah.
suppose if we all are AI generated, then, and I know it'll be, for men as well, but I just do think that double standards when it comes to beauty and women and the way
Yeah.
they've been marketed to. And that's a whole other
Yeah.
we could do a whole session on
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so I suppose it's more important now to get into the picture than ever, as you are.
Absolutely. I agree. And the technology might be revolutionary, but if we are still, comparing ourselves to others and think there's some kind of standard on us, then we haven't really come any further than we were a couple of 100 years ago as women, right?
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's just moving, moving the mantle with technology. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It is.
There's
It is
nothing
like
new, really.
yeah. So it is.
Mm.
It's about, and it's it's not easy to put yourself out there, but I do think that people are kind of ready, even if they're not ready for it, they're ready
Yeah.
for this revolution to happen. And it is a revolution, because sometimes I wake up in the morning and kind of go, oh my God, this task is
Yeah.
massive. But at
Yeah.
the same time, one selfie, and even people would say to me, what difference will one photograph make that you put up on the
Mm.
19th of, it is
Mm.
hugely powerful.
Mm.
Your next door neighbor, your cousin, your aunt, your mother, your daughter, somebody, and that's the best way that we can show that, is by doing it and living it, rather than telling people. It's like they see you getting into the picture, maybe not feeling the best, or maybe some days
Yeah.
feeling good again. And that's what it's about. It's about, some days you feel good, some days you look good, some days you won't.
Mhm.
But it's not to kind of go hiding and crawling under a rock the days you don't, because you're still the same person. You're still the same amazing person. And I say this, and I don't say it like, I've never met a woman that isn't amazing.
Yeah.
Never. We
Beautiful.
are amazing. We
Yeah.
are amazing. We really,
Yeah.
we truly are. And it's
Absolutely.
to see that,
Yeah.
and to see that our physical and our bodies are a part of it. And you can, doesn't mean you can take pride in yourself, and you can, you know, you can do what you, some people will be into grooming, some people won't. Again,
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong. But it's just a part of you. You're not better or worse, or than somebody that's bigger or smaller, or you know than you. It's just, so it really is exciting, but it's also, I know, this huge work. And sometimes I kind of go, oh my God, this task is massive. But
Yeah.
yeah, one selfie at a time, one picture at a time, we can actually change the world. And I do believe that.
And all the conversations that it starts, and I wanted to thank you for, if it wasn't for your campaign that started 2 years ago and still ongoing now, I would never have had the courage to have professional photographs for my
Mm.
business taken.
Yeah, yeah,
And then what I learned in the process was incredible. It was a process where I saw it is the energy behind the picture.
yeah,
When those pictures were then taken and the photographer showed them to me, I saw exactly, yeah, that's fear. I remember the thought there, and here I
yeah,
started to ease up and feel better about
yeah.
myself. And that's the validation we get, isn't it? Like if we post that selfie, and I'm just thinking of all these vulnerable young girls whose brains are, and everything's still developing, and their ability to see the bigger picture, or have come at it with life experience. And so thank you so much for that, Sharon. And it's a great
Thank you
conversation starters, for
thank you
mothers
for being
and
such a great
fathers.
supporter. And yeah, no, because sometimes you can be doing this work, and you can be, and something that I am moving forward with will be
Mhm.
measuring impact and that kind of thing, because at the moment it's anecdotal, which is great. But like,
Mhm.
you have been amazing with your feedback. And
Mhm.
because, like, some days you kind of go, God, what am I, what am I doing this for? I wouldn't be, I'm not, it doesn't mean that I'm not passionate about it. I'm extremely passionate about it. And if I wasn't, it wouldn't be in its third year, and it's even getting bigger and bigger and bigger. um, but it's kind of just hearing those stories, and people would say, there isn't a week, and nearly this time of year, a day that that doesn't go, that somebody doesn't send me a picture or tell me a story about, my
Mhm.
sister passed away of cancer. I have her photographs. They're the most precious thing in my life to me. Or I hear you going, get in the picture, get in the picture, get in the picture.
Oh,
My hair is
yeah,
messy. I'm on the beach with my
yeah,
children. I'm in my swimsuit. I don't want to, or whatever. Or,
yeah.
even in work, doing a live. One of my clients said she wouldn't even do a live for her business.
Mm.
And like, again, that we're driving with one foot on the brake. How can you want to have the impact you want to have if some people don't need to or don't want to? And again, you don't have to be visible. it's just that if you want to, like I knew that I wanted to have the impact that I wanted to have. So you don't have to be visible if you don't want. So it's not about making people, but most people will say actually it's the fear. It's they do want to do it, but it's the fear that's stopping them. So so no, your feedback and the conversations that we've had have been really amazing because they've made it real, and I can see the impact then that it has on your clients, your daughters,
Mm.
their daughter. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it we're talking about that ripple impact again, that it's not just one photograph person. Because yes, okay, physically it's the photograph, and on the 19th of August it's the National Photography Day, so that's why
Yeah.
that. But it's actually it's a movement. It's not just one day. It's every day.
Yeah.
And it's about I've never met, and I could see the correlation with people that were coming to me and they were saying, I'm not getting into the picture. But where were they not getting into the picture in their life? And I know that for me, when I was hiding from the camera, I was hiding in life too. Um, so it's all about getting into the picture, I suppose, physically, but in your life as well. Knowing that you are enough as you are because you are.
Yeah. And the when you say this, and I'm gonna wind up now. I could talk to you for ages and
I
ages. But what comes up for us women is, where you say where you don't get into the picture of your own life. We very, very fast associate this with, but that's narcissistic, or that selfie generation. It's learning that difference, and what I share from a parenting point of view is that, let's say if somebody had these tendency, oh, look at me, that's coming from the same feeling of inferiority,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
as
yeah,
somebody
yeah.
who won't get into the picture. So I'm sure you share all that with your clients as
Yeah,
well.
and like
Uh,
for me, okay, obviously on the 19th of August it's a campaign, so it is about
yes.
getting this picture and
Mhm.
sending to me, tagging me on Instagram. So
Yeah.
then I share them with everybody, and it's such a beautiful day because you see every shape, every
Yeah.
size, every color. You know what I mean? And it's just like
Mhm.
with their dogs, with their daughters, with their sons,
With makeup and without, right?
and it's just in general. Yeah, with makeup, without,
Mhm.
again, so it's not a no selfie or it's not a no makeup thing, because if you have makeup on, you're as valuable as if you don't have makeup on. But like for me, it's in general. Okay, that day I am asking people to get into the picture, but you don't have to post them. It's about
Mhm.
getting into the picture. It doesn't have to be posted. You don't have to put them up on your Instagram. You don't have to. But it's if you're getting into the picture yourself in your day-to-day life, that's
Mhm.
good enough. Good enough for me. But on this day, obviously, there is a kind of a movement and an energy
Mhm.
behind of it, and kind of being part of a community. But like in general, if you take a picture on a Monday, or Tuesday, you don't have. It's like you have that memory. You don't have to. Or if you're showing up and you're taking a seat at the table and work, or you're being part of something that maybe you were. That's enough. You don't have to be, you know, banging the drums about it either.
Yeah.
And you can be doing it once you're showing up and once you're, taking part and getting into the picture of your life. Then it doesn't have to be documented on social media either.
Okay, I didn't know that. And even maybe the metaphorical, where are you getting in the picture? And especially I'm thinking in a parenting context, what is something you normally wouldn't do with your children? Because, your statistic that you said 70% of women withdraw from an activity because of their maybe lower self-worth, it's
Absolutely.
like,
Like I know for me, I had told myself a story that I hated sand, that I
Mhm.
didn't like sand, hated sand, and didn't bring my children to the beach ever, like really ever, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Mhm.
I loved walking in the beach, but not bringing them to the beach because that meant that I would have to get into the water with them because they can't.
Mhm.
Like, there were three of them were under 3.5, or even three under 5.5, whatever age they were.
Yeah.
They weren't ever going to be old enough to, so I would have to get into the, or if we went, we'd go with my husband so he could
Mhm.
take them in. And so I'd made, but that wasn't fear of. I mean, I wasn't afraid of sand, but I just didn't like. It was like, oh, I don't like sand. It's messy. It gets in between my toes. It gets everywhere, and oh, I couldn't be bothered traipsing around and bringing all the things to the beach and everything. It was nothing to do with that. I didn't want to get into a swimsuit.
Yeah.
So now, see, now they laugh at me here, kind of go, oh, you think you're a sea swimmer now. I sea paddle, I get into the water, but for me, that is actually amazing because now I have to walk down to the beach
Yes.
in my swimsuit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's something that a lot of women will say to me, going to the beach with their kids is a huge, or going swimming with their
Yeah.
kids is a huge, or even just going to the park or going wearing shorts, something that you might have to go to. So yeah, even looking at it that way, where are you not getting into your life with
Yeah.
your, and don't beat yourself up over it. Do not, that's one
Yeah.
thing. This is not a, kind of something you kind of go, okay, well, look, I can change, going forward, how can I change? Just look, and
Yeah.
I know why, maybe you do know, or maybe you don't know why you did or didn't do that
Yeah.
now. But don't beat yourself up. It's happened. But how can I now make a small change? It could be just a small change. It could be just that you go for a walk on the beach with your children first. Then it
Yeah.
could be you wear shorts on the beach. The next thing you could be, your swimsuit on the beach, but you don't get into the water yet. Or could be, you know what I mean? So you can take small steps, or you can just go, I'm going in, you know what I mean? So it's whatever suits you, but just, yeah. So
Yeah.
watch that's very powerful. And getting into the picture that way as well.
And I'm just having another thought. I'm going to think of you now. Every week I go to the sea, because I do go to Escort, no matter what weather or season, for a swim, and go maybe when the tide is in, because it's such a long walk when the tide is out, right? And walk with your chin up, like Sharon recommends.
Yeah, and that's one thing when I get into the water, and I will be very honest with you, I haven't got to the point that I love getting into but I go into the water and I can say, I say to myself when I getting in, I can do hard things. I can do hard things. Now some people say it's not that hard, but for me it is.
Yeah.
And and then after, especially I love going in the morning, because there's nothing that I can't do then for the rest of the day, because I can do hard things. And I've shown myself, I've rewired my programming. I've rewired the fact that I don't hate sand. I love sand. And then it was a lie. And that, even when I went on holidays with my teenagers, I would have been before mortified. I would have been really embarrassed about my body now,
Yeah.
because they're now older and they're young adults, and they don't care about my body. I was really cross one day in the heat, and that upset them more than me being overweight. I was cross, and I wasn't. I mean, that was far more, and that's one thing I really realized in this holiday. Actually, it's that's much more important. They didn't like me being, between perimenopause and all the rest, but I was a bit I was a bit agitated and cross.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way, and that was much more detrimental to them. They didn't care that I was in a size whatever bikini,
Yeah.
or in a size whatever swimsuit or whatever. They didn't actually care about that. So it's just to kind of focus on things that actually matter.
Yeah. That's it. And what we can influence, I was thinking, just dropping my children off there, what we can influence. Like, we cannot influence how our daughters see themselves in the world, but we can totally influence how we feel. And women like you offer the tools out there to help other women, to
Yeah,
do something about how they feel, and then let that ripple out. So
yeah,
to get
really
into
powerful.
the
Thank you.
technicalities next week, well, recording this before the 19th of August, is, what is it, National Photography Day?
National Photography Day.
Mhm.
It's your opportunity to get into the picture. So I
Yes.
just want you to, on the day, take a photograph as you are. You can be dressed up, you can be not dressed up, you can be on the sideline of a pitch, you can be doing
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, with your dog, with your mother, with your daughter, whatever you want to do. And you put it up on Instagram, you tag Sharon Huggard
Mhm.
underscore, and hashtag getting the picture. And I have amazing female founded businesses as well that are on board for prizes. We have Ground Wellbeing, Ella and Joe, Mars Pharmacy. We've loads of incredible that there'll be chance to win prizes, there'll be a chance to take part in this movement as well. So it's really about building a community, and then I share all the pictures
Mhm.
throughout the day, so you'll
Okay.
get to see all of the pictures. So it's
Right.
really, really, really powerful. And yeah, I have a podcast as well now, Getting the Picture, and just talking about it. It was really interesting actually, because when one of the first questions I asked was,
Mm.
what does getting the picture mean to you? And it meant different things to different people.
Yeah.
Some people were saying it meant being present. Some people said it was, another lady said it was about taking a seat at a table and about doing the things, you know what I mean, about showing up and doing things, and not really saying yes and then worrying about it after, but just saying yes maybe when you might be a bit scared,
Mm.
but you want to do it. So it's not saying yes to something that that you don't want to do,
Yeah.
or that wouldn't be, but it was that maybe fear was stopping you rather than, you know,
Yeah.
so it was really, really interesting to see what it meant to different people. So yeah, so no, I'm really, really excited. So I would ask everybody, and even you can go, what does one selfie? It's it's a movement and it's community, and somebody will see that and somebody will look at your photograph and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's, yeah, that's the aim of it. So on Monday the 19th, I would love to see you on Instagram, and so would everybody
I
else.
was going to ask you, is it Instagram the only platform, or
Yeah,
are there?
I mean, you can share it anywhere, but Instagram just lends itself to sharing. You know what I mean? Sharing
Oh,
the posts.
yeah,
It just lends itself to easily
true.
sharing somebody's
Okay.
post. But you tag me on Facebook or LinkedIn as
On
well, and
LinkedIn as well.
I'll
Okay.
find you. But
Brilliant.
yeah, it's just, as I say, just Instagram is just the easiest platform for sharing. It just kind of allows that kind of with ease.
Yeah, it's what
So,
that
and you
kind
can
of
see the
platform.
stories and then it disappears as well, because some people are like, oh, I don't want to have my photograph up there forever. You know what I mean? It goes after the 12 hours, so that kind of gives somebody a bit of kind of reassurance as well.
Okay. I just had this lovely image, when people or mothers, anybody asks what one selfie do, maybe one day you could make like this massive jigsaw, and every picture being a little piece. And I always think when it comes to parenting, it's like it's those little pieces of the jigsaw, that make that whole picture complete. So even
Oh,
if,
that's beautiful.
right?
That's a gorgeous analogy. Yeah, yeah, and it is.
Yeah.
And there's power in the collective. There's power in the collective.
That community you're creating is just
Mm,
incredible. It's
mm, mm.
just so encouraging.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for all your work, and thank you for allowing me to be part of it.
Thank you.